could stare at this case all day long. Ciao, I'm Mary Ann Esposito. Guess who's coming to my house today? Arthur Schwartz. Now, if you don't know who Arthur is, he does a radio talk show all about food in New York. And he's written a fabulous book on Neapolitan cooking called Naples at Table. Today, Arthur is going to show me his very favorite Neapolitan codfish stew. And I am going to surprise him by making a fabulous miniature Babá. So now that I've been inspired, you and I need to get going and start cooking. That's it, real fast, real fast. Come on, get that baseball arm moving.
Oh, ok.
Okay.
Non c'è ketchup.
No. Già vedi, mi fa la foto.
Basta?
Sì.
Sono molto delicati.
Molto delicato. Grazie a lei.
Grazie Marianne, grazie a voi.
You know, my mother's favorite leftover sandwich. Come on, you're Italian. Isn't this beautiful? Look at how pretty this is. It's delicious. How do you like that? I think you're great. And now we're ready to do the twist. So, looks gorgeous, smells wonderful.
I use my hands.
I love this woman. Okay. That's done, and Arthur's going to love that. You know what? I'm going to start right now to make his Babá. I want to surprise him because I think his recipe is really great. And it starts out with milk, some warm milk. You want about a half a cup of warm milk and a tablespoon of yeast. And all you want to do is dissolve that in the milk. Make sure the milk is warm. About 110 degrees is about right. And once you have this dissolved, you just let this sit aside because in Arthur's recipe, this is not put in at the beginning. It's put in at the end. And that's what makes Arthur so special because he can be very, very different, and that's wonderful. So now we want to put some butter in a food, not in a food processor, but in a KitchenAid mixer or a big, huge mixer like this. And you want to start out with unsalted butter. And when you can just put your finger into a stick of butter and leave a small impression, you know that that butter is at the right temperature for creaming. So 1 stick of unsalted butter goes in, and we want to start creaming that with about 2 tablespoons of sugar and about a half a teaspoon of salt. So that goes in. And now, you know, this Babá really did not originate in Italy, I don't think, because I remember all of my Polish friends having something called Babá at Easter time. And you know, Babá is the Polish word for grandma or old woman. And I wonder whether this is where this originated. But now we have 4 egg yolks, and we want to put those egg yolks in one at a time to get them really well mixed into the butter. But there is also an old story about King Stanislaus of Poland. When he was deposed, felt so bad for himself that he took a piece of his kugelhof, or sweetbread, and he doused it with rum and ate it and called it Babá. Who knows? Anyway, there's the last egg yolk, and that makes a nice creamy yellowish mixture. And now, with the egg yolks, we need to have flour. And in this case, folks, we're not using unbleached all-purpose flour like I normally do when I'm making bread. This is cake flour, because this is a cake or a bread that has a very light, airy texture. You don't want a flour that has too high of a protein content, because that'll make too much gluten. You want cake flour. So I'm going to add a little bit of the flour now, turning down the speed a little bit. You want to add flour and beaten egg whites. And now the egg whites. And now normally this is made in a tube pan, a 10.5-inch tube pan, like you would do a angel food cake. But I'm surprising Arthur today and doing it a little differently because I'm going to make this in a miniature version, or mini Babá. And I remember during Easter weekend when all of my grandmothers and aunts were making these sweetbreads for the Easter holiday, this Babá was also made and taken to church on Holy Saturday to be blessed by the parish priest. When these breads were made, they were dressed in baskets with wonderful linens, Italian linens, that you had as, you know, part of your original trousseau. I remember my grandmother using her best linens to wrap these breads up, and I would be the one who would have to take them to the church with all of the other people who were assembling to have these blessed by the priest. And then you ate these on Easter Sunday. So now the rest of the egg white mixture goes in, and this makes a pretty loose dough. It's not a really stiff dough, and it's not a dough that you're going to be able to knead at all. Once we get this out of the bowl here, this is going to go into just another bowl to rise, and then we're going to put it into our form immediately. So once you get it in, you may have to stop and wipe down the sides of the bowl because you want to make sure that that's all very well incorporated. And I guess you can see just how sticky that is. So I'm going to let that go now for a minute and get my bowl out that we're going to put that in to rise. We'll put it right in here. And really, that's all there is to this. And that looks pretty good. So let's take this out. And the fun part is always getting it off the paddle. And you see how sticky it is, and I'm just going to use my hands because I'm used to using my hands when I'm working with doughs. And as I say, this has a very light and airy texture, and it's going to be delicious once we put the other part of this together. So I'd say this has to rise for a good, I think Arthur's recipe said couple hours. You want this to double in size. So you see how sticky it is. There's no way you'd ever be able to knead that. Okay, that looks good. I hope he's going to be proud of me. Get rid of that. Wash my hands now before he comes over because, you know, it's almost time. And he has a good appetite. Okay, that's good. Now we want to cover this. Cover this with a piece of plastic wrap and put this off to the side, and we forget about this until it's double. Now let me move this out of the way and show you what happens next. Because while that's rising, I got up early today. I made one ahead of time so that you could also see what this looks like. Now look here. It smells very yeasty, and it's so light looking. Look at that. And now all I have to do is scoop that into those mini molds. And I'm using these today. They look like cupcake molds, but you know what? This is actually like a rubber material. It's great. You never have to grease it. And I've made these before, and they come out beautiful. So all you have to do is take some of the batter and plop it right into the center. And once these are baked in the oven, trust me, they're going to look beautiful. Now all we have to do is let them rise. So we want to cover them with a towel and put them in the warm part of your kitchen. You know, not a hot part, but in a warm part of your kitchen. They're not going to take very long at all. Now, I better clean up because I don't want Arthur to come to a dirty kitchen. So let me get some of these things out of the way. And I'm all ready for him because you know what? I invited him for lunch. Oh, there he is already. Hi, how are you?
Cara mia.
Ah, che
Good to
gioia
see
mi
you.
dai. Good to
Grazie.
see you. Okay, I think I got all that stuff that you wanted.
Oh, I'm sure you did. It's
Yeah.
not hard, you know, to find these ingredients, but I did bring you
Okay, a present.
a present of, you know,
Un
fish,
regalo. Okay. Oh,
some
fish.
salt cod.
Don't I get fish
Now,
every day?
I know you
Okay.
can get it here in those nice boxes. I saw the box around a minute ago. Here it is.
Yeah, I
Here.
had-
This is how it comes packaged.
Yeah.
In New England, actually, most of it comes from Canada these days.
We won't tell
but,
anyone.
But if you go to a special ethnic market,
Yeah.
you can buy it here with the skin on.
Yeah, that's
and I like
nice.
that. For the recipe we're going to make, which is a casserole of salt cod,
It sounded so
bacala,
good. Yeah.
and potatoes,
Yeah.
you want to have a nice musillo, a nice muscle of a fillet. But here's one. Here, I don't know if you can take it.
Oh, This is better than a bouquet of flowers. I tell you.
This is with the bone in. This is
Yeah.
already filleted, but this, once it's soaked up, it gets really plump.
Yeah, and you know you have to soak this for a long time, right?
Well, in Naples.
Speaking of which, while you're talking about that, I got some soaking
Get some out of the refrigerator.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'll tell everybody, in Naples, this is almost a convenience food. They package it already soaked in plastic, and you can buy it in the supermarket. Or if you go to the fish market, they have nice stainless steel tanks with water running in and running out, so that it's constantly flushed with water. And I do this the same way at home. I put this in a bowl of water in the sink and let the water run into the bowl, drip, 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 so I don't have to worry about changing the water. But if you want to do it, just if you're going away for the day, put it in the refrigerator, come home,
And change the water. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with a lot of salty fish.
24 hours can be enough. 36 if you really want it to be unsalty. And one more. It also comes.
Too generous.
Well, this one is the same brand as the one in the box. Just comes in a different package.
Okay.
Just show and tell.
Well, here, did I do a good job?
You did a great job.
Well,
let's get going here.
Later. Let me save
because
this
I'm
for later.
hungry.
All right. Well, I know. Okay. Let me get this
going. Let me clean up a little bit here.
Okay.
Get the salt off the table.
So I got everything you wanted.
Yeah.
Ready for you.
Great.
So how's this look?
Great.
Okay.
These are Gaeta olives.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you how to. I know you know how to do this, but I'll show them how to pit these. Capers.
Yeah.
Onion, potato, and of course tomato.
Should I start cutting those potatoes?
Yes. Now, because these are such fat potatoes, cut them the lengthwise first, and then cut them in quarter-inch slices acrosswise.
Got it.
Meantime, I will cut the. Do you need a knife?
Yeah.
Here's a knife.
Here's a tray for you.
Okay.
And I'll get one for me. Excuse me. But you know, two people in the kitchen.
Well.
It can be cozy.
Here we go. Here's a nice chef's knife.
All right.
So I'm going to cut the salt cod. Now I said nice thick fillets. Now you can see how nice and juicy this is after it's been soaked.
Oh yes, that looks very good.
Right. And the reason I want nice fillets is because I want this as a presentation piece. It's sometimes salt cod.
It's only you and I.
I know, but you could serve this to company. I think this is a great buffet dish because you can make it all ahead, just stick it on the stove for a half an hour. Even if you reheat it, it's good. In fact, I had some leftover. Here's a little bone. You got to get that bone out.
Get that bone out. You can always use tweezers, to get that out.
Yeah, but usually the salt cod, they pull out really easy. It's not a bony fish, but every once in a while you do come across a little bit of bone.
Both these potatoes?
Yeah, both those. Okay. We're doubling the recipe.
Okay. Yes.
You have a very nice pan. Oh, you know what? We should get the onion going.
All right.
Let's get the onion going.
So all of it?
We're doubling the recipe. So that's 2 medium to medium large.
Okay.
Actually, you don't need quite that much.
All right, that's enough.
That's enough, exactly.
And I got the olive oil hot for you.
Okay, good. So we want to saute the onion just until it's translucent.
Okay, Arthur.
And then, unusual for a Neapolitan recipe, we're going to combine garlic and onion. Most Neapolitans put up their noses when you say garlic and onion in the same recipe.
Aglio e cipolle.
I don't know. What's the story with that? Do you know?
Oh, my grandmother always used onion and garlic, and she was from Avellino. So,
well, up in the mountains, you can't tell what they're going to do.
Up in the mountains, you used what you had, right?
Well, that's why salt cod.
Okay.
Because up in the mountains in Avellino, Benevento, they didn't have access to fresh fish. Neapolitans, of course, lived right on the water, and they had it. But the monarchy, the Bourboni, which ruled the region until 1860. That's quite late, after all. Thank you. Okay. They taxed all the nice, fine white fish.
Now, isn't that interesting?
Which is one of the reasons, and oysters too, which is one of the reasons that today those are considered prime eating in Naples. Branzino, orata.
Oh, orata! I love orata.
Those are considered the best fish because, of course, for so many years they were deprived. I'm going to put one more piece of this cod in here.
You want garlic in now?
Now, yeah, so this recipe I got,
Okay.
The garlic, just sliced.
Yeah.
You don't want it minced, just sliced.
All right, will do.
It's rare to combine them, but since I got this recipe from somebody in Benevento,
oh, that's the
which is where
hometown of my husband's family.
I knew that. And Benevento is a little different than the rest of the region because Benevento was not part of the Bourboni kingdom. It was first of all, it was the Lombards, those northern people
Germanic,
stayed there until very late, and it was a papal state. Okay, the cod is all ready. I'm just going to put it here for the moment.
Looks
In the
good.
meantime, gaeta,
You use a
So-
snocoliva like I do.
I call it a snoccolatore.
A snoccolatore.
Anyway, I want to show you, they're very, very easy to pit. Even if you use a knife, they're easy
I've
to
been
pit.
eating these before you came over.
Well, then I better do a few extras here.
How's this looking? You want this
I
soft?
think a little softer
And
if we
then
can
take
get it a
some
little
out
softer.
instead?
And then we're gonna layer the onion
You know
and
what?
garlic.
I gotta go
with
to the oven.
potatoes and cod. What are
No.
you checking now?
Well, I'm making something special for you.
You
I
are?
gotta check. While you're doing
Okay.
that, let me just see.
Meantime, let me tell everybody about capers. So many people don't know what capers are. They're flower buds.
Smell.
Ooh.
Piramidi di
Oh, I
Nonna
love this.
Galasso.
This is from your grandma.
Yeah, a little eggplant.
You
a
wrote to me about these.
Yeah, now I'm gonna put a little cheese on top, a little mozzarella.
Oh, great. Now, mozzarella is one of the chief farm products of the region
You
of
know what it
Campania.
is? You know, can I just put this down for a sec?
Sure.
Just watch yourself so don't get burned there. I want to add some of this cheese over the top. Look.
Oh, very
just
nice.
shredded. How pretty this is going to be.
Oh, this is going to be delicious, too.
Delicious. And here's a little ball of the
This
mozzarella.
is how mozzarella looks when it's nice and fresh.
Yeah.
Better than that rubber
Oh,
balls in the
plastic
supermarket.
stuff. Don't
No.
eat that plastic
Don't
stuff.
eat it.
Don't eat that plastic
No,
stuff.
see if you can get it fresh. Actually, there's a company in Texas,
yes, I
Mozzarella
know.
and Company, is that what it's
Yes,
called?
yes.
That will send it to you in the mail.
Okay, now I'm going to put this back in to melt the cheese Arturo. So
Very
we can
nice
have
moist
that.
cheese. Okay, so capers are flower buds. Now, they grow wild all over the Mediterranean, but they're very expensive to buy because they have to be picked by hand.
Okay.
And really, really good ones are packed in salt and not in vinegar.
Not in vinegar.
And so if you can find the ones that are packed in salt instead of vinegar,
What do you think? Take some
I
out?
think yeah, you can take some out at
How
this
much?
point. They're going to continue half.
Half.
Leave a nice sparse layer on the bottom of the
I
pan.
will do.
The other condimento, or the other seasoning for this dish is oregano, one of the main herbs of southern Italy.
And not
basil,
overused, and
not
not
overused.
overused.
No. But in fact, it grows wild all over the place and tastes a lot more like marjoram
Yeah.
than we think oregano tastes. Anyway, so here we have our onions. Now we can make a layer of potatoes.
Okay.
Can I just
You do
dive
that,
right in
and
there?
then tell me what else you want me to do.
What else do I
comes
want you to
next?
do? Next comes the cod.
The cod.
I'm making a layer of potatoes.
Okay, all the potatoes go in first, right?
Yep, potatoes first. Now a layer of cod.
A layer of cod.
Now I want this is a great pan for
All
making
this
this
cod,
dish because you
right?
can bring this to the table. And I like to serve this in the pan that it was made in because it looks so good. No, yeah, all of it.
All of it.
Yeah, put all of it in.
Okay, that's what I was going to do.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right. Mi scusi.
And then we're going to put in more onions.
More onions I got right
The rest
here.
of the onions, the other half of the onions.
Over the top.
Over the top. And then the rest of the potatoes.
Okay.
And then we're going to put the other condiments on top, and that's what's going to make it look so pretty,
Yeah,
including the red
looks
tomato.
Really nice. And it's so easy.
It's very easy. And like I said, it's great for company if they'll eat cod, but I don't know why they wouldn't. Once, that people haven't had this before, just tell them it's fish.
Right.
And then you can show them the dried product. The dried product looks a little scary.
Now oregano?
Now, now everything. Oregano.
Now, okay, oregano.
Oregano.
Beautiful.
Capers.
Capers. Excellent. Okay, I'm putting all this oregano in because I like oregano. Okay, this is going to be delicious.
Our olives.
I'm so glad.
Now,
you
the
and I are
genius of
having lunch.
Neapolitan cooking is that you use just very few ingredients,
But tasteful
but
ingredients.
very full. Wait, we have one more thing.
Oops.
Excuse me.
The tomatoes.
Now, I'm using a very dull knife to do this,
Okay.
like an Italian housewife
Well,
would.
you're doing that,
I'm
I'll
cutting it
clean
right
it
in
up.
my hand.
Okay.
Clean hands, of course.
Right. Mine smell like fish.
And
so.
well, but it's a fish dish, so it's okay.
You do that. I
Or
gotta
you
wash
could
my
really
hands.
do what Neapolitan housewives do, which is crush them in their hands, right? Like your grandma did, I bet.
That's the way my mother does it. Crushes them
crush it right in your hands.
Yeah.
Just dot it with tomato, a little bit more.
We don't need this now, right?
We're finished with the cod.
Putting this back in the fridge.
Okay, good. By the way, it will hold for a couple of days in their fridge. Now,
Okay.
that's beautiful.
Do we need the water?
Yes, we need a little water.
There it is.
There it is.
Okay, and now you told me that we've got to cook this slowly.
Slowly for about a half an hour.
All right, so-
Because the cod actually you can almost eat it the way it is, raw.
Right, it doesn't have to take very long.
No, it's more, we're really cooking this a half hour more for the potatoes. And some juices will, I'm going to just put the rest of these on
Oh, yeah,
there.
don't waste them.
I don't want to waste anything, right.
Okay. You broke my dish, but that's okay.
No, it's Pyrex.
All right, here, wipe your hands.
Okay, now
Turn this on low
turn it
heat.
on low heat for half an hour, and you're going to get all these nice juices
It
developing.
just sounds delicious. Now, look, I got a little surprise for you.
What's that?
Give me this for a
Okay.
second. Yeah. I got a little surprise for you. First of all, let me check and see what's going on here. Oh yeah, these are done. Gotta take these out. Yeah, they're done.
Grandma's little antipasto.
Yeah, they're done. Don't they look good?
Oh, they look great. I love the little white cheese on top of each
let me
red
just leave
tomato.
them over here for now. We'll eat them in a few minutes, but I made the Babá.
Oh.
I made the Babá, and look, I made the mini version.
Mini little Babá au rhum.
Yeah, but I waited for you to come so we could do the sauce together.
Okay.
So I know you have this little, the little
All right,
trick.
you got to make holes in these.
Yeah, and meanwhile, I've got 2 cups of sugar
You got to make
here.
holes so that the syrup will penetrate, and I like to make them all over on the sides, as well as on the top. You don't want to ruin the top look to me, so try to get it in the creases.
Everywhere. So 2 cups of sugar, 2 cups of water, right?
Right, you're
For
making
the
a simple syrup.
Okay, that goes in.
Every bartender knows that.
Every bartender knows this. Well, okay, so I'm going to just cook this until we don't see sugar anymore.
Okay.
And it's very clear.
The whole, you bring it, it could be over
Bring it to
high
a
heat.
boil.
You bring it to a boil until it's clear.
Yeah.
It really doesn't have to cook down or boil together for very long.
Should I put some in?
Yeah, please.
Just put some lemon in?
Now, if you have kids around, you don't want to do rum, right?
Well, that's traditional, to do the rum, but we're not going to do rum. Look what I got. I think this is great. It's not as big as your rum bottle here, but look, see, look. You could use cinnamon oil.
Oh, that's a nice flavor.
And really, this is very intense. So, should we do the rum or do you want to do the cinnamon? Let's do it your way. Let's do it your way.
We're adults.
We're adults. Okay, we're going to put in. I'm going to put the rum in now, and even if I cook this a little bit, I'll cook it right off.
Exactly. If you wanted to have the rum flavor, but without so much alcohol, you could put it in the hot syrup and let it simmer a minute or two, and that would draw off most of the alcohol.
Now, how's the syrup looking? You think we can pour it over? Is it good?
I grunt when it's good.
I'm so glad. How's this looking?
That looks great.
Okay.
You want to pour it over?
I'm going to pour it over. And you want to just, that's why we have all those holes, right?
You see, this is an example of how simple food can be and still be sensational.
Delicious, if you have the right ingredients.
Yeah, it's all about great ingredients.
Okay, that's over, and now all we have to do to this is, continue to syrup
they need to be basted.
You got to turn these around. You can't be afraid to get your hands in these, and you turn them around.
You can also serve some of the syrup on the side when you serve the cake.
Yes.
If somebody wants an even moister cake.
Exactly.
And people have seen these, I'm sure, packed in jars. They come all covered, in
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
They sell them in jars in the syrup already, so they can stay in the syrup for days and days.
That's the lazy way out, Okay, well,
No, I mean yours. If you want to keep them fresh, you just keep them in a jar, in the syrup, in the refrigerator.
Okay, well, Arthur, you know what? I think we have the makings here of a great Neapolitan lunch, don't you?
I'm looking forward to this.
So there you have it. Lunch, Neapolitan style. Ecco, look.
Oh, smell.
Look, isn't it great?
It smells so good.
You did a great job. Look at that.
Thank you. Look at that. And I want some bread to mop up those juices.
Okay, you'll get the bread. But before we eat this, we have to eat Nonna Galasso's piramidi with the eggplant, zucchini, tomato, a little bit of oregano, and the fresh mozzarella on top.
La vera mozzarella.
La vera mozzarella. That's first. And then, at the end, because we were so good in the kitchen, we have to have these little mini babas. Aren't they cute?
They're really charming.
And I even made your large version in the tube pan. Doesn't it look good?
It's as wide as the Babá it's named after, the grandma it's after.
Well, I think this Neapolitan lunch deserves a wonderful wine, don't you?
I think we deserve the Neapolitan wine.
It. And so, Arturo, chin chin.
Chin chin.
And until I see you, Nella Cucina, again, I'm Mary Ann Esposito.
And I'm Arthur Schwartz.
Ciao.
Ciao.